You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 273 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by HandsOnGloves, the all-in-one revolutionary grooming and shedding gloves. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we're going to have some fun with one lady who's south of the border, now in Texas, though. She's a lady who has been in Spain and in Mexico and in Texas in the United States too. So she has quite a visionary view of horses. And then we have Holly, who is an editor with magazines that you probably grew up with. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen, with me today. Hi, Jen.
Greetings, Debbie!
Hey, glad to have you back. This was a fun one because I got to speak to somebody who I've seen only kind of from the editor's point of view. She's been a horse girl her whole life, though, and she's been an influencer in horses, and she's a horse girl with the rest of us. But she also is like a big deal in horse publishing these days.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. We have two very different, again, this is a theme throughout Horsemanship Radio. Very different backgrounds, very different points of view, but
what do they have in common?
What do they have so much in common. Exactly. You get to chat. And I think that's something I'm going to point out today's show. It highlights how our similarities are more important than our differences, because it's really easy for us as horse people. We get in our own little silo. I ride Western. I do hunters. I am an English rider, or I only ride insert breed of choice. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to separate ourselves. And even regionally, and this was something I discovered when we had a tack shop, how horsemanship is viewed and horse ownership and being an equestrian is viewed so differently in different parts of the country. And that was exemplified when we owned our tack shop, because certain products were ubiquitous in certain parts of the country and unheard of in other parts of the country. You could pick out a product, and that it was in every tack room for the past 15 generations. Wow. But you could go to a different part of the country and they'd never even heard of it.
Yeah.
And I think as horsemen, we figured that everything about horsemanship is like that. And it's not. If you get past the colloquialisms, and if you get past the color of the clothing and the favored type of tack, there's so much universality involved. And I think if you focus on the big view, both of our guests are going to exemplify that.
Oh, that's good. That's a nice intro. We'll keep it secret from there.
Sit back, tuck in your buds, get your favorite beverage, adult or family friendly, and enjoy the show. And we're going to get right to it after we hear from our title sponsor, HandsOnGloves, which are family-friendly grooming tools.
Definitely. HandsOnGloves is the #1 ranked multi-award-winning patented animal shedding, bathing, grooming gloves that animals prefer for their generous massage that they provide. Hands-On is currently expanding to bring you revolutionary new animal products as well as high-quality, effective gardening gloves and tools. HandsOnGloves will change the way we tackle everyday animal and gardening activities, making those efforts faster and more effective. Whether you have a house full of cherished fur babies, a garden full of prize-worthy vegetables, a ranch of prized livestock, or the best rose garden in town, HandsOnGloves provides you with the tactical tools you need to get the job done right. They're non-abrasive with flexible round tips and strong nylon fabric. They make the perfect grooming gloves. Find HandsOnGloves at your local retailers or at handsongloves.com. Monty Oliver started her modeling career at the age of 16, landing on the cover of Vogue magazine, and has been featured there numerous times throughout her professional life. Her popularity and her daring attitude led her to a television show where she went into different parts of the world, experiencing everything from jumping from airplanes, was set on fire, swam with the sharks, she ate scorpions, if you can believe that, kissed a bear, was shot at, got into a ring with Bengal tigers. You get the picture. Monty now owns a ranch in Texas, and she came to Monty Roberts to learn horsemanship at the Monty Roberts International Learning Center. Let's hear what she's experienced now. Well, welcome, Monty. I am so happy to have a second Monty on here. I'm not putting you in the second position, but it's really great to have you. I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You want to tell our listeners what you've been doing here for the last couple of weeks, Monty?
Oh, Debbie, I'm honored to be in your podcast. Thank you so much. And I'm honored to get to meet you because you're a wonderful person. I also learned to know you a little bit, and I got this sense of you being having such a great heart and so nice that I'm really, really grateful about it. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm here because I heard about Monty. That of course I'm the last Monty. He's the first Monty, and who we should almost worship because he has this method of starting horses that is not breaking them. It's without being aggressive to them, without beating them, without tying them up. And I was very interested about it because I'm always been, I love I always love animals, and I'm always trying to saving dogs and trying to do things for them because we human beings have taken over this world as it belonged to us. We don't even left some space for them to live almost, so I feel guilty and I have to pay them back in a kind of way of everything that we humans have taken from them. So being kind and trying to learn their language, that's why I came here. Try to learn their language and try to, if they're going to be with us and working with us and competing for us and with us, and we have to have a relationship that they're willing to do the things and we don't force them to do it.
Right. Yes, because it sure makes a willing partner when you're not forcing it. You have been around the world. You've worked a lot with a lot of different animals. The first question I had was, has anybody expressed that they knew the language of another animal? Like Monty expresses that the gestural language of equus is a cross-species language. We're communicating with that horse in that horse's language. Have you had any other experience like that anywhere?
No, it's the first time that someone teaches me the equus language, for instance. I have always been, I have something, when they say that you're born with a gift or something, they've always told me that I have a gift for animals because I observe them and I understand them. But I haven't been around horses so much. So with dogs and cats, I kind of know like instinctively what they like, what they don't like, and how to make them do things sometimes because they want to. But with horses, I have no idea, and I love them, but they are such a massive and impressive and strong animal that I was a little bit scared of them, and I don't want to. I want them to want to come to me. I want them to want to work with me and be safe, So that's why I'm here.
That's wonderful. And that's what I wish everybody would learn, the language of equus. I really think it would change the world. We talk about that a lot on the show.
And also because it's like I know you know this, but it's like if someone is pulling you, like come, and it's pulling you, you're coming, but she's forcing you to come. But if they ask you, hey, would you like to come? You would come, and maybe by asking the horses. That is this method, like asking them and that they willingly will come with you and do what you want them to do. They'll even perform better. You'll have a better horse and you can even win competitions because they would like to do it and they're not forced to do it.
You've learned a lot in this last couple of weeks. That's fantastic. So backing up, what was your first experience with horses? Because you're an animal-centric person. When did you first meet horses?
Wow. My first experience with horses, I guess. My mom, it is funny because my mom says that before when I was a kid, a baby, well, they were trying to make me speak and say mom and dad and those things. And I started barking and doing animal sounds.
I love
So
that.
I guess my first experience was listening to horses and just trying to imitate them, their sound. And then I went to pet any animal that was around. So she was kind of scared that I got into horses' feet or whatever, because I would always run to pet the animals. So like an experience with horses, riding them or something, I never took lessons. I'm very, how do you say it? I just go for things and then think about it
Later.
when I already did them. Later.
After the fact.
That's why I'm on top of I've flown on top of a plane and I got my finger bitten by a lion. But anyways.
Yes, she said that. She had a finger bitten by a lion.
Yeah, I just went on top of it. You know, I just went on top of a horse and I rode it the first time, I guess, in whatever park in Chapultepec, Mexico, that they used to have horses. And that was my first experience, and someone was pulling him from the from the line or something, you know.
Yeah. You're from Monterrey, Mexico. Is there a strong equestrian culture in that area?
Well, in Mexico, there is a strong question about like jumping, also horse racing, and also the Mexican dancing and the charros and everything. Yes, but not everyone does it.
Mm-hmm. Kindly, yeah, that's what we're working on, aren't we? You and I are.
No,
we're going to work.
I believe no one kindly. That's why I'm telling you, please. I have to bring you to Mexico and to introduce you to all of the equestrian people, so that you can change this. It would be, it would give me peace.
Thank you. Well, it would be another area that we need to get into, and you and I have discussed some mutual people that could maybe give some influence there. But you're very influential. I mean, you're a successful model, actress, entrepreneur. So how are you going to have horses fit into that journey? Is that part of it?
Well, imagine my dream all my life was to have a little ranch. So I bought 6 years ago a ranchette in Texas, and I wanted to make like a sanctuary, an animal sanctuary, and adopt horses or wild horses and any kind of animals. But then I said, well, if I want to do something like that, I need to learn how to handle them. So stupidly, I bought 6 years ago, I adopted 2 mini horses because I thought on my mind, without having any course or anything, okay, I'm going to train myself with them, which they told me it's a big mistake because they're very stubborn and blah, 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 but I love them. Now I have 3 of them, and I think that being with them and making a lot of mistakes, because imagine I was chasing them to grab them. No, I wouldn't, no. Now, then I learned that I have to wait for them to come to me. But anyways, you learn. you learn, and I'm learning a lot here, so I'm very grateful.
Yeah. So was that part of your?
So if I want more horses, I want to. That's why I want to. I wanted to do this course, and I want to do the intermediate, and I want to do everything.
Yeah,
all of them.
Good, and get bigger horses, maybe even.
Yeah, and get bigger horses, and maybe give them a chance to rescue the Mustangs that everyone is so afraid of. We've worked here with 2 Mustangs that you have, that they're so nice and sweet that if you can start them and make them be nice horses, they don't have to go to the slaughterhouse.
That's right. Oh, and they do too. So that's what I am inspired by you, because influential people, and you're in Mexico, being somebody that can be influential. I know that you've already put your influence about animal appreciation there, but somebody influential who could show that there is a maybe more effective way to gentle Mustangs and gentle wild horses that can be. Now, some people will go, ooh, I don't want to gentle wild horses, but it's their salvation if we can keep just core herds. I'm not trying to destroy the Mustang herds. In fact, I think it's a more intelligent path we might go on. Do you think that you could be a little microcosm? Maybe you could put some gentling facility down there too and have a certified instructor. You become a certified instructor in order to show people that.
I don't think I have the time to. I'm going to become a certified instructor, but I don't think I have the time to be an instructor myself. But for sure, we need instructors in Mexico.
What are some of the more valuable lessons that you've learned from horses about trust and communication here while you've been on campus?
Oh, many. And we humans are also, we think we're so on the top of the animals that we know it all, and we're the strongest and the more intelligent of them. And we have a lot to learn from them. As a matter of fact, I came to learn their language. And at the end, it's working also with yourself. They teach you so many things. that you can't believe. It's like really, really working with horses or being around horses. It's a therapy, a personal therapy too. It's unbelievable. But we see these big animals and we instinctively want to be stronger than them and pull them and make them come your way. And I learned that if you leave them the smile in the,
a smile in the line.
Yeah. And if you ask them, even ask them to when you want to pet them, they respond nicely. They don't go and beat and try to bite you and nibble you, or they will respond much better if you ask them, if you kindly ask them to come to follow you and not pulling them or pushing them or making them do things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And isn't that sort of how we should treat people too? I think horses teach us a lot about how to treat people too. Yeah, and they develop a creativity in us too, I think. Have you found any of that?
Yeah, no. You know what I learned? That they're like they're worse than a jealous husband or wife or son or daughter, because they are teaching you and they want you to be here and now and 100% with them. And it's like, when we get in an argument and we want to, talking about myself, I get desperate and I want to fix things now. And maybe the other person doesn't want to talk right now. And you just want to fix things now because you want to get them right. It's like that's a horse. It's like, okay, you have a problem, leave it outside. Don't come with your problem in here because we're not going to have a communication. So breathe. And let's talk and forget all your problems and everything, and let's dance. If not, we're not dancing.
Exactly. So, more dancing.
Yeah. It teaches me a lot of things, to be more patient, that it's not always my way, that you have to have a communication. And it goes, as you said, with humans too, that we have to be more empathic and more... And listening to the body language of everyone. Even sometimes we say things we don't mean, and the body language says something else. So let's be more perceptive.
Yeah, I think the fun thing is that becoming an instructor these days too, everything that you're learning right now, whether you take it out and become an instructor or whether you just put all these in your muscle memory, being a first-generation Monty Roberts instructor like this, where you've been able to have Monty in the class personally sharing a lot about his foundational thoughts and his frailties and weaknesses of learning and how you make so many mistakes, it's fairly humbling, I think, for everybody, no matter how much they've been with horses or how little. I feel like you're one of those people that empathically knows that you don't know a lot about horses, because you've learned.
I don't know anything. We have to keep on studying and learning every day, because the horse that I had yesterday that did everything maybe right, today he's in another mood and he doesn't want to do things right. So it's like with people, we need to work every day with each other and try to don't stop working.
Who was your favorite horse to work with this week?
Mojo. And not because he's the easiest one, but he's the most stubborn of all. And he taught me something that I'm gonna share very, very deep. My TV show that I've been doing, it's a talk show in Mexico for 24 years.
Wow.
It's a talk show. We have all kinds of artists, of singers, everyone goes there. My co-host that we've been working together, and she's my best friend, she has health problem. And this year, it has been very difficult because of her health problem, and I have been very worried for her and for the show and everything, but mostly for her, right? Mm-hmm. So and all the time I came here, they gave me Mojo. What are the odds that his name is Mojo, like my TV show? Now it's Montse Joe, but it started as Mojo. And Mojo wouldn't do what I want. Mm-hmm. Mojo wouldn't come to me. And it was so frustrating in the join up. And I was like, come on. And he taught me that if I let go, everything comes to its place. Mm. And then when I had to take him to his pasture, I started crying, and I told him, thank you. You're teaching me that I have to let go. I can't control the sickness. I can't control the show. I can't control the future. So thank you, Mojo.
Well, Monty, thank you so much for being on. We're hoping that we get together again and we can share some of these concepts south of the border.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing for all the horses in the world.
And speaking of doing great things for horses, if you have a product or service, in other words, a business, that the horse world needs to know about, we do have advertising spots available on the podcast. Just reach out to Debbie. Easiest way is via the website and get a conversation started. And now, who is our next guest, Debbie?
Holly Caccamise spent her formative years riding every chance she got on any horse she could. And Holly has been with Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines since 2007. And in August 2019, she was promoted to editor-in-chief. Holly has an MS in animal science from the University of Kentucky, where she studied equine nutrition and exercise physiology. And she has a BS from UCLA in biology. Since teaching and riding and vaulting during college at the same horse camp she attended as a kid, Holly loves educating and entertaining the horse-crazy youth these days by working on Young Rider magazine. Well, welcome, Holly Caccamise. I'm so excited to have you on, Editor-in-Chief, Horse Illustrated, Young Rider, Western Life Today, amongst other talents in the equestrian world. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We're not going to be talking about Chickens magazines or Rock and Gem, or we don't have time for all that.
Good, because I don't know anything about that stuff. So.
Well, it's on your signature, and it's very exciting that there is a one-place shop for things like that.
And our sister brands, and I don't know much about those topics. So
okay, we're only talking horses here. It is Horsemanship Radio.
Good.
So there we go. But I am excited to have you on because you are an influencer. You're actually influencing the future of the equestrian industry. And I think we all on this phone call for sure all want that to go on strong and into the future. So the first thing, I'd like to get a little background though on our horsey girls, and you never know. So tell me how you got into horses.
Sure. Well, my family was not a horse family. I grew up outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and I always was interested in horses. I think I went on the little pony ride as like a 3-year-old at the fair or something, and just loved horses from that moment. And about the time I was 9, my friend started taking riding lessons, to drive an hour outside the city to get there. But, that was the one thing I did as a kid that stuck. I really just loved the riding lessons. And so I started, when I was 9 and never looked back. I, eventually was leasing a horse at around 12 after we moved to California. It was a little bit easier to be around horses, and owned one by about age 13 and pretty much from then on. So I've been an eventer since that early junior high school kind of time frame, and loved eventing, and that's still my thing.
Still your thing. So yeah, we said something about the crazy sport of eventing. It does take a little bravery and stuff. Your parents were all behind it?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, to this day, I'm still, I'm in my 40s, and she's like, when are you going to quit jumping? Oh, I don't want you jumping. It's so bad for your knees and your back. I'm like, have you not realized that this is not going away anytime soon?
Stuck. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. I think it's a great thing for parents to encourage if they can. It's just usually they don't understand. So it's our job to kind of educate, isn't it? So pass this podcast along to all those parents who need to hear this. But good. I'm glad. We're glad that you stuck with it and got your horses going even at 13. Listen to that. It can be done. You had to earn it, I'm sure. But that's a great way to appreciate horses too, because it's not an easy job. Those tennis players who just put the racket in the closet for the weekend and take off. You can't do that with horses. So
that's true.
I would love to hear before we're off the phone today, what I'd love to hear are 2 tips, basically. First tip is talk to those kids who might be flirting with horses, want to get into horses, but talk to them about staying with horses, because you're that story.
Yes, that is so true. And I noticed when I was about in high school, kids started kind of leaving a little bit, getting into boys. They could either start off strong and just fade out quick, or, I just think something in the DNA of people who that's the passion. It's not going anywhere. For me, I had to kind of stopped riding during college. I sold my horse. I was in LA, so it's kind of hard to keep it up. But once I had my car at school, I started driving to a weekly lesson just to have something. I still wanted that. And then as soon as I graduated, I moved to Kentucky and bought a horse, probably against all financial advice you would ever hear in your life. Little off track thoroughbred. I just had to have a horse again. So, I just ran out and bought one as soon as I lived there. And he was a great horse, kind of a all arounder, nice, easy horse to just bum around on and kind of do a little bit of everything till I could afford to show and take lessons again. But just to have that in my life, it's you'll do it if you want it bad enough, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So you haven't used that biology degree yet then, is that right?
Not really. I did use it to get into grad school in Kentucky, which is why I moved there and studied equine nutrition and took a lot of science, did research. But then I didn't really end up using that master's degree. I thought maybe I would work at a feed company and develop feed. I like the research end of things. I did not like being in school. I could have stayed on for a PhD, but I was just done. I do not like school. Some people love to be a perpetual student, and that's great, but that was not me. So I just ended up kind of, what should I do now? I ended up taking a job as a groom, which is exactly what everyone does with their master's degree. So I did that for about a year. Finally decided, okay, being in the sweltering summer of Virginia, and then we were down in Florida over the winter. It was, I think Jen's in Ocala, but I was down there in the winters, and it was really just hard, obviously, work. You're working 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, and all you're doing is packing, unpacking trailers, cleaning stalls, braiding manes, and just kind of, ran its course for me. So I decided to get a nice air-conditioned office job and kind of just luckily landed at a horse magazine called Thoroughbred Times. Obviously, racing, I went back to Kentucky, and racing is everything there. I didn't know too much about it at the time. I was not against it, but I wasn't a huge fan. So I learned a lot. I was writing ads for stallions and products for horses and just learned so much about the racing industry. And did that for about 5 years before I applied at Horse Illustrated, which was a related sister company that was moving from the California office to the Kentucky office. And I was like, this is my dream. I need this job. So I was very lucky to start at the bottom editing there and just kind of work my way up.
Yeah. I think we've met at an HP conference or two too. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you were teaching riding and vaulting. How does one get into vaulting? That's amazing to me.
That, I feel like it's such a kind of regionalized sport, sort of. I lived in California where I think it's pretty big. Was working at a summer camp that I used to attend as a kid, and they had these beautiful Belgian horses, like 4 of them that they used for their vaulting program. It was a school during the year, so they had a whole program there. And so when I was a camper there, I learned vaulting, and then I was kind of helping with it as a counselor. And then the trainer had to be gone an entire week or longer than that during the summer. And she's like, okay, you're the vaulting teacher now. So, and they took the good horses and gave me a green Belgian that was 3 or 4 years old. Like, here you go. He can't lunge, but you're going to teach the kids
throw
on
kids
him.
up on it.
So, yeah. So we just kind of made it work. You do a little practice on the barrels first, teaching them their different skills. And then, he just was not great at lunging, but very slow. So they're just so gentle and a wonderful breed. So I did my best, and we put together a little show for the end of the week. So I always like to say, I taught vaulting, even though I'm just kind of cobbling it together.
It's on the bio now. So I know, I love those big Belgians, and I think it's the greatest thing. And for balance and everything else too, for kids, talk about, that's more than just taking the saddle off. That's
Yes, it is. It's fun, and it's scary to stand up there and be cantering around in the circle, and then you dismount, just jump off. It's so high up. It's amazing. But yes, very good for confidence. You feel like if you can do that, being in a saddle isn't quite as scary, I think.
Do you think those Belgians are a little more prone to the cadence too that it takes in vaulting? Or how do you
maybe
teach that?
they are. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't do a ton of canter work, and they just have a kind of shuffly trot that's not. I know some people teach vaulting on thoroughbreds and, just horses that are kind of bouncy. But I prefer, honestly, those draft horses. Their
Yeah.
back is a mile wide. It's much easier to stand up there and do what you need to do. So I thought they were great. And I'm a lifetime fan of the breed now just because they were so sweet, I thought.
Yeah, they are. So as an influencer, so you are, not only are you teaching kids and you're influencing kids through your magazines too, what are some of the goals and aspirations of where you want to take the equestrian world given the next generation? How do you think you personally are going to influence that?
That's such a hard question. I mean, we all want to keep equestrianism going. And, we've been talking about this a lot, I think, in the last year, is just society kind of looks more and more negatively, it almost seems, on anything to do with horses. They hear the bad stories and get like a negative taste about it. The boarding goes up, the hay goes up, the open spaces go down.
Yeah.
And it's just difficult, but we all want to see flourishing and success in the industry. Obviously, you have to bring in new young kids. And, it's kind of the question we all have is like, how do we, make sure they keep coming in? It might be harder as kids live more in cities to find that accessible riding stable, get started, get their lessons. Because I think once you can get a kid started, at least that's how I feel, they'll stay with it for life if it's what they want to do. So, yeah, I think I'm just really lucky. I feel like, I live across from an equestrian community and center, half a mile away from me. So there's kids there. Every boarding barn in Southern California, I'm in Orange County, there's probably like 10 boarding barns that have just hundreds of horses on a few acres, but you see kids just everywhere. So it's really nice to see. I'm just like, that is the exact kid that I am talking to in Young Rider magazine, this 8, 10, 12-year-old girl that usually a girl, sorry to say, but that is more common.
Yeah, that's true.
You just take one look at them and that's the horse girl. Like, she is fully into it. And then with Young Rider, we just get so many letters, and these kids are just as dedicated and passionate as you can possibly imagine. So it's really nice to see they're still out there. I don't know. I don't really see it diminishing other than just access to being able to get into those programs and lessons and get on the horse. That's what we need to make sure we can do.
That was kind of a direction I was thinking I might be able to take you is, what is it about an equestrian center that we love, that we can maybe even optimize, improve upon too, that it makes it more of a community? Because to me, the 12-year-old girl who brings all her friends and, starts a community that way is like, that's the barn that all the girls want to be in. And it doesn't have to be a statusy thing. And you're in Orange County. There you go. So, but it doesn't have to be a statusy thing. It really, really isn't, right? It's more of equalizer, I think, that everybody helps everybody. But what do you see as the future of even how we house our horses, or where we keep them, or how do you build that barn that everybody wants to go to?
Well, it's just so important to keep, I mean, it's tough, but the prices, affordable, like lesson packages here, you look at them and they've gone up, but I do feel like some, programs try to keep it as affordable as they can, because they know, if your lessons cost $120 each, the parents are not going to sign up for 6 months worth of lessons. So just keeping that as affordable as possible. I think the way we do it here, it's just so different, keeping horses in a stall. They don't get any turnout. You have to be out there every day to get them out for exercise. It is tough, but it is a way to keep more horses in a smaller area. So I've gotten used to it at this point. There's just so many horses here, which is good to see. I think just making sure to get the word out, to market, to be on social media, bring in those eyeballs somehow, that they need to find you, and you want to be that program that's, you don't want to to fall into like, oh, it's snobby and everyone has to have a lot of money and really expensive stuff. Just keep it, just supportive of each other. Like when I was a 12 or 13-year-old, my next door neighbor moved in and she was about my age and she didn't know anything about horses. And I was just horse. So I got her completely hooked. Like all we did was do horse stuff. And we made these horse magazines together that I just found. And I'm like, oh, this is so funny. It's like a mini Horse Illustrated from when I was a kid. And she ended up getting 2 horses by the time she was in high school. So I think you're right about bringing your friends in. I think that is
so little ambassadors, maybe little ambassadors you were. Yeah. Exactly. Something that pulls people. I mean, COVID, I think in some ways helped, right? We were the 6 feet apart recreational thing that you could do during COVID. Yeah.
Yes. And I heard a lot of growth at that time. So that's good.
Me too. I thought, wow, this may actually be a little jumpstart on some of that. Now, I know in California is hard to get. One of the things that I noticed that came out of it too was there were more people willing to keep their horses in pastures than had been before, as opposed to really, bubble wrapped up. And I thought that was a good trend. And I think the little girls, had fun doing it, not just exclusive little girls. There were some, 50-somethings as well, but they were getting a little braver. Do you think we can encourage that area too, where you can put maybe, 4 or 5 horses in a pasture and actually bring them up and throw some saddles on and go?
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of pasturing because when I lived in Kentucky, I mean, I was there 16 years and I never had a stall for my horse. I was pasture board, not just because I didn't have tons of money, but also I preferred it. I just felt like, especially with a thoroughbred, they got a lot of energy. They do really well outside as long as you throw that, waterproof blanket on in the winter. Right. It does get quite chilly and wet out
Kentucky,
there.
For sure.
But the mud, whatever, the rain, they do really well. And so, yes, I'm a huge fan of that. I think, it's good for their minds. It's good for us to go out. We get a little more exercise to go out there and bring them in and they're happy.
Yeah, good. You have to work on those thoroughbred feet a little bit. We pulled the shoes and put them out on grass, and it there's some moisture out there. There's a little trouble. Yes. So we started. This is a little bit of a promotion for Farrier's formula, but we got everybody on Farrier's formula and some supplements. And, they do start adjusting it to those people who are skeptical about the thoroughbreds because they're so versatile and well-bred. Obviously, that's what they're for. That OTTB can be really pretty versatile for trail and everything else if you get the feet right. And I was so lucky with my first one that I got in grad school. He just had the most amazing feet. He was from like a very old line, so that might be why, not anything too recent, and just was barefoot. I invented through novice on him barefoot. And so I was like the barefoot, like, I was just telling everyone like, oh, this is so great. And then I got an Appaloosa with the worst feet. Oh, ever. No. Like they could not hold a shoe on. They were shelly and terrible. And you just would never guess. So then I'm like, okay, so it's not really it's not just management. It's just the horse. That's right. Ultimately, it is the horse. But this is super fun. I so appreciate what you're doing, Holly, and I want to hold you up as one of those that are out there making the future for the equestrian sport. And I don't want it to go away, and I don't think any of us do. So I would love to, share ideas occasionally here too, where we can continue to go forward with some of the things we've learned on tour in Europe and other places that, we may pick up some tips. Sometimes we get a little myopic here in the United States, and it is kind of fun to see what the rest of the world is doing out there. And if you're willing to have you back, I would love to talk more about continuing this conversation. Absolutely. And I think you're right. I do hear just how different things are overseas. And I've been a couple times to Europe, but I haven't really gotten too deep into the horse world there, but I would love to. And I think you're right. We can learn from each other. Cool. Thanks. Well, thanks for being on Horsemanship Radio and your premiere edition here. Well, thank you for having me. Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word. It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox.
and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, I recently acquired a 6-year-old Mustang mare. I was told she trailered well, but she walked right up to the trailer and stopped. She didn't act scared, but when we tried again, she went right up, stopped, and sat with her rump right on the ground. We chuckled about it, and then after a few seconds, she snorted, got up, and walked right in. She does this every time. While this doesn't hurt her, it would be nice if she would walk in without sitting first. Any suggestions would be helpful. I do not know much about her past. She is a rescue. Monty's answer. It sounds as though you could have a very funny act on your hands. She is obviously quite stressed about the prospect of loading and traveling. This could be the result of negative experiences in her past. To assist her, you will need to repeatedly to create situations that will be comfortable so as to reduce the stress level by reinforcing in her mind the belief that trailers and travel can be safe and comfortable. Apparently, your mare has figured out how to control the situation. I would school your mare to respect the dually training halter. Once this is accomplished, she will choose to load without sitting down. The dually halter is designed to allow the horse to train itself to come up off the halter willingly when a request is made. There is a specific set of procedures that must be accomplished before the horse is likely to act in a cooperative manner. My Equus Online University and DVDs describing procedures are extremely helpful, but there is no substitute for practice in becoming proficient with any piece of equipment with which you intend to train a horse. I often say that the dually halter is no better than the hands that hold it, and the way to get the hands better is to have them practice its use. I recommend strongly that every horse person work with easy cooperative horses before progressing to those more difficult. As one becomes better with the easy horses, each procedure will tend to educate both you and your muscles to make the right moves in order to achieve the desired result.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to MontyRoberts.com and click on the words Ask Monty at the bottom of the page. Imagine if you could take Monty to the barn with you. Watch and learn as he addresses each challenge with your horse and answers your questions too. You head to the arena and you work on each new lesson, knowing Monty's there to encourage you, all with violence-free, tried-and-true methods. After all, he's been helping train horse lovers all his life. With his online university, you could be like Kathy, a retired teacher who just bought her first horse.
Recently, I went to a tack shop to look for a smaller halter. 61, just purchased my 14 hands POA the day after my birthday, just a few weeks ago, after never having had a horse. And yes, that's crazy, but as a retired teacher who never had a hobby other than teaching, I decided to go for it. My hubby and I have taken lessons this past year, but I really longed for a relationship with a horse. The only other experience I'd ever had was to ride a horse in Philly, Pennsylvania, my hometown, when I was 16, and I got bucked off. And that was it until I was 61. Well, the owner of this tack shop, this precious lady, 84-year-old lady, gave me a copy of this magazine, Equine Monthly. And the article I read in it was Horses Are Biofeedback Beings. And it was just so interesting. I really felt like I just found a pot of gold when I read it, because in it talked about Monty's online university and that I could have access to 575 videos for $10 a month. And before that, I was just searching YouTube for everything I could find, but truthfully, that's just a pain. I love that the uni videos are concise and they're in order. They have extra notes and a quiz, and I just can't thank you enough for the huge blessing of your online university. It really has changed my life, and I will never be the same. I've had my horse Jack now for 7 weeks, and thanks to the videos, I've done join up with him, and it really worked like a dream. I had to do it in an arena, but it still worked. Thanks to Monty's lessons and the cues and the hand signals, the ability to watch the lessons over and over on demand is incredible. So I also want to thank you so very much for making the online university affordable for this retired teacher. Thank you so much for all that you do for everyone who really wants to love a horse. Kathy.
Let's click open the calendar and find out what's coming up at the Monty Roberts International Learning Center.
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged. February 16th, we're going to be on the Mountain Trail Play Day here in Solvang, California. And March 16th, just worked out that way, is a second Mountain Trail Play Day. And then on March 17th, we have Horsemanship 101. And then we have this is calling all people who love Yellowstone and wild horses.
That's pretty much everybody.
That's everybody, right, who's left. That will be in May. We have our Gentling Wild Horse Course, 5 days, 19 through 23. And then June, we have another Horsemanship 101 on the 14th and a Mountain Trail Play Day on the 15th. And then, drum roll, we have our biggest event of the year for me. It's the movement. The movement is on June 20 through 22, and that is our 8th annual, Jen.
And speaking of the movement, you guys film those every year.
We do.
And make a little documentary of the movement, add the year in at the end. Where can people go to watch previous movements?
Yeah, that's right. You can go binge on the movement on our website. So you go to MontyRoberts.com and you go to the shop, and then you drop down to special events, and it is special. So yeah, that's our whole Vimeo collection. That's the movement is there. And then on our Vimeo collection of them, it's the on demand, it's VOD pages. So if you go to the shop and you see video on demand, then you can find the movement. I think that's all we have on there is all the movement. No, we have seasons of the Monty Roberts Backstage Pass too. I take it back.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, we have other things you can see on there. And some things are pay and I think some things are free. So people should go there and check it out. So it's vimeo.com/Monty Roberts /VOD _pages.
Or
but it is
MontyRoberts.com shop and you'll find your way there.
Exactly. Try that one out.
But you guys also have a YouTube channel for those simpletons like me.
Simpletons. I love freebies too. Simpletons. Yes, we do. We have a Monty channel and we put everything up there. You know what's up there right now is Shy Boy, the BBC documentary, The Real Life Horse Whisperer. It is.
Oh my gosh. That was my introduction to Monty Roberts.
Really? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. And they can come see Shy Boy's still with us. He's here. And that was in 1997. They filmed that.
Wow. Well, there you go.
And you'll see it right away. It has him and giving a hug to Shy Boy and Shy Boy hugging back. So you know what we have there? We have all the podcasts there too. How about that?
Oh, that's right. So everything you need to audio video is right there on YouTube. So check it out, everybody.
Yep.
And if you can't remember all of that, of course, you can go to MontyRoberts.com for all things Monty Roberts. You can call Flag Is Up Farms and talk to a real live human being who knows what's going on. That would be 805-688-6288. And for details about today's show, MontyRoberts.com, HorsemanshipRadio.com. We'll have today's guests and links. And we would love to hear from you on social media. On social media, it's Monty_Roberts on X as well as Instagram. And on Facebook, it's Monty Roberts, the one with a little blue check mark.
That's right. And many thanks to our sponsors, too. That's Jay Michelson at HandsOnGloves. What a great team they have. Those pairs of gloves are now shedding most of our horses on the farm. They're already shedding out. It's really cool. And we also have our MontyRobertsUniversity.com, and that's our online university. It's all our lessons, 850 up there right now. And they come in themes. So you want to learn anything that Monty has taught, just about, although we keep adding new ones every week. Go there and be sure to visit all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.